Hi everybody, this is Alchemist2 and I'm back with another book review. You're probably wondering when the heck I was going to ever get to this point because, as I said, I have been really busy with work and basically just work. Nothing really else has been stacked on my plate so high it could topple over. I have to say, in the Wicked series, this is a nice interlude, and we get introduced to Brrs. Brrs is a very intriguing character. He has a lot in common with Elphaba, because he becomes a pariah. There's a lot that actually goes into him becoming a pariah, and how he becomes a coward. There's a reason for everything. And it's interesting how he's remembering. Elphaba's dead, okay? It's just, if you read the past two books of Wicked and Son of a Witch are the first two books, and A Lion Among Men is the third, and the fourth one is Out of Oz, which I'm reading right now, and it's probably the longest of all the books, but Brrs himself is a very fascinating character, and we see a lot of similarities between Brrs and Elphaba, and how he comes to know Liir and Candle and their child. Their child is named Rain. She has another name too, but I can't remember what it is. It's interesting how she starts to come into her own in the next book, but I'm not really going to say what happens, because it's a nice little segue, I think. Gregory Maguire, he tells a really superb tale. It's just a book that, if you liked Wicked and Son of a Witch, then A Lion Among Men it'll enthrall you. It will just take you by the throat, literally, and not let you go. And you just want to learn what happens to Brrs. The things that occur within the happening of Dorothy and all that, and how she recruits the Scarecrow and Tin Man, and also how he becomes the Cowardly Lion. And Dorothy, how he portrays her in this, she comes across as precocious. She comes across as maybe not so innocent as we like to think she is. Because she says a few things about Elphaba that are very revealing, I think. And it gives you a whole new perspective of her character. Same thing with Brrs. Brrs not exactly the saint he's made out to be in the movie. He's a completely different character here. He's got his faults and foibles, and he he actually had a romantic relationship with this jungle cat named Malala. And Malala is a tigress. Yeah, I'm not going to go into what occurs there, because it's very graphic and kind of disturbing and carnal and feral in a way. But at its very root, it just shows what the lion was capable of at first, and how that disappears with time. And he's got this kind of toady that goes along with him, named Shadow Puppet. Shadow Puppet's an interesting character too. I think everything in here is allegorical. With the original Wizard of Oz, it was about the industrial age and capitalism and just different aspects of society at the time when the Industrial Revolution came. And there have been studies done on that, and the psychology behind it, and the sociology, and it's really quite fascinating if you get into it. This, I think, is similar, because you've got Yackle. Yackle, she's very fascinating. I really like her character, because she spares no no squabble about anything. She doesn't take any guff. She just states the things as they are and calls a spade a spade. And I really like her character because apparently she knew Elphaba and Glinda, or Galinda, when they were growing up and they were friends. And of course there's quite a bit going on with the Grimoire is missing. So he has to make a piecemeal offering by retrieving the Grimoire. And there's a ragtag band that goes along with the Clock of the Time Dragon. There's all this kind of motley crew that assembles with Brrs as kind of the boss. They call him the boss. They call him boss in Out of Oz as well. But he is seen in two different lights. Either one who brought Oz to ruin, or the savior of Oz. This is sort of like this kind of mockery of Narnia. If you've ever read C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia, it kind of reminds me of that. It's kind of making fun of the lion. And if you're into any of the Christianity symbolism of that, you might be a little bit upset, but I thought, ooh, that's a jab. That's definitely a jab. And he makes a lot of good observations about religion and how it can be seen as fanaticism, and I'm not into that type of thing. I'm not a fanatic. I'm not religious either, so that's another thing I want to state for the record. Of course, if you know from my reviews in the past, you're aware of that. But A Lion Among Men, it's very short, and I finished it in a couple days. I couldn't put it down. It was that good. If you've liked the very beginning, Wicked and Son of a Witch, which the Wicked is about if you've seen the musical, it actually goes into more detail why it is the way it is, and the Clock of the Time Dragon, how the Clock of the Time Dragon represents truth, and what it resembles later on, and the Grimoire, and why the Grimoire is so important. There are just so many interlocking, interweaving, intersecting themes that just continue with the different books, and that's why it makes such a good epic, I think. He does this so very well. He's just definitely a sensational author, and I would love to meet him because he's got a lot going for him. This is just absolutely beautiful, and it's very enchanting, and it proves that fairy tales aren't always sugar, spice, and everything nice. There are thorns and brambles along the way. This proves it. And it's a reminder of, I've always loved grim fairy tales when I was growing up, probably because of my mostly German heritage. I read the original versions, which have not warped me in any way, sense, or form. I'm glad that my parents didn't spare me the original, and they introduced me to that because they were all basically object lessons. And if you go into it later on, you realize just how adult they are. But this is a similar kind of theme and trope that he builds on, and it's just utterly fantastic. It's just absolutely magnificent. I really don't have that much else to say about A Lion Among Men, other than it's really a great kind of in-between point. And the last book is really long, so I'm hoping I can get it finished soon. It's 500 plus pages, so I will let you know what I think of it as soon as I finish it. But from right now, I loved A Lion Among Men, and I'm glad I read it. I'm still a huge fan of Wicked. The books, yeah, the musical follows the whole happening at Shiz when they go to the University of Shiz and whatnot. Yeah, it follows it fairly closely, but there are some things that don't really match up. I mean, you know, the Hollywood does, or not Hollywood, but Broadway sometimes doesn't always follow protocol or outline. They do what they want. But honestly, I have to say I like the book. I really love the books. And I love the musical even more, because if you know what's going on and what's happening and the interworkings, it's just like that Clockwork Dragon, the clock of the time dragon. Every cog has its particular mechanism, and it makes sense. Dragon in itself is a symbol. If you know anything about dragons, if you look into biblical symbolism, it always resembles evil or malintent or some kind of evil, some kind of sinister doings going on. You know, shenanigans. Sorry, I had to say that. But basically, there's so many themes and ideas, just different things that you're used to, just as a mechanism of plot. That just move the story right along. It moves very seamlessly. You don't get bored with it, and there are just so many different characters that have bearing on other characters' destiny. It just really keeps your interest, I think. That's basically all I have to say about Gregory Moire's A Lion Among Men, and this is book 3 or 4. If you're not familiar with the series, start with the first book, because if you go into the third book, you won't know what's going on. Well, the fourth book actually explains quite a bit. It has a prologue, and it tells you what happened in the 3 prior books, but I still recommend that you read them all in order, or it just won't make any sense at all. It has a definite timeline. It moves in a very linear fashion, but it's very poetic as it does, so it's not prosaic at all. That's basically all I have to say. Till next time, bye.